President John Taylor. In relation to the subject that I referred to this morning pertaining to the co-op, I am informed that they are very busy with their affairs and have not had time to make any specific statement pertaining to this matter, but they feel disposed to unite with us in relieving the necessitous and worthy, as far as they would be justified in the premises and in according with correct principles to do their part. I would here remark that the same kind of feeling would be commendable on the part of other storekeepers, bankers, or any one of us to relieve each other. I would make a statement in relation to the co-op. I have had reports from the North that some parties, who ought to know better, had said that the co-op was no longer a church institution, and that it was managed, directed, and controlled by a few monopolists, and that we were asking the people to sustain them in their operations, which I consider very infamous talk, and especially coming from men who profess to be men of honor. The church, I will here say, holds an interest in that establishment, to the amount of $360,000. And then there are 580 stakeholders, who are Latter-day Saints, in it, besides the interest which the church holds. And when men make such statements, I consider it infamous and contrary to correct principles, and I should recommend their bishops and the authorities of the church where they live to bring them up for slander, and treat them accordingly. That enterprise was started, as is properly implied, by the initials of its name. What is it? Zion's Cooperative Mercantile Institution. They had for some time difficulties to cope with. Perhaps things might not have been managed as well as they could have been. There may have been errors in judgment. For some time they did not pay dividends. But latterly they have paid what might be considered a fair dividend, and the institution never was in a better condition than it is today. I speak of this that you, who are stakeholders in that institution, may not be imposed upon by speculators who would seek, by false representations, to get from you your stock at less figures than it is really worth. I think it is our duty as Latter-day Saints to sustain that institution, and then, on the other hand, I think it is the duty of that institution to sustain the saints. And let us get closer together in our relationship and act honorably and uprightly in everything we engage in, that we can secure the blessing of the Almighty. I thought I would say so much in relation to this matter. In regard to the work we are engaged in, it is one of very great importance. It is one on which God and angels, apostles, prophets, patriarchs, and men of God, who have lived in the different ages of the world, have felt interested about, and do today. And about these little matters of dollars and cents, we do not care so much about them, or ought not to, although we have to attend to all these matters temporal, matters spiritual, things pertaining to time, and things pertaining to eternity. It is expected of us that we act wisely, prudently, and understandingly in all of our doings. And in speaking of the Perpetual Emigrating Fund Company's operations, we expect that all decent men will meet their obligations, and those who are not of that class will not. We will forgive the poor and let them go, and the others may go if they want to, but we will not release them from their indebtedness if they are able to pay it. Is not that just? I think it is. We will relieve the poor and needy, but as to those people who have called upon you, and you have sent out your teams and have loaded those teams with provisions of all kinds, and you have either gone yourselves or sent your sons to drive them, to help them in, if those men do not feel like acting just and right, let them be considered among the unjust, who have used your means, which have been appropriated by you to relieve the necessitous, and have not had the honesty to return it. But as to the poor, the needy and distressed, we will come to their relief and help them, the same as we are obligated to go to God our Heavenly Father and ask Him to help us. For we are all dependent upon the mercy of God. We live in Him, we move in Him, and to Him we are indebted for our existence as well as for every blessing that we enjoy pertaining to time or eternity. He has revealed unto us the fullness of the blessings of the gospel of peace. He has taken our feet from the mire and clay, and has planted us upon the rock of eternal truth. He has imparted unto us the light, intelligence, and revelation of heaven. He has made us to sit together in heavenly places in Jesus Christ. He has taught us how to save ourselves and our families, how to save our progenitors, and how to save our posterity. And we have this labor to perform. And if we have gone forth and assisted our brethren, we have only done our duty. And what was there so much after all? Not much. We have simply performed a duty we owed to God and our brethren. If we had not had the means, we could not have given it, and having given it, we will continue to do the best we can, and we will keep on doing, helping all, comforting all, relieving all, teaching all, and seeking to promote the well-being of the human family, and to carry out the designs of God in the best manner that we can. One duty we owe to the world is to preach to them the gospel, and for that the priesthood is organized in part. The elders are sent forth from time to time. Many that are around me on my right and left, and also before me, have gone forth weeping, bearing precious seed. They have gone in the midst of persecution and affliction, to an unthankful world, to proclaim to the people the glad tidings of salvation, and they have returned again rejoicing, bringing their sheaves with them. And we are still doing the same. The Lord has laid it upon us, and it must be done. And when we send out missionaries, I was told that some did not hear what I said this morning upon this subject. I will try to make you all hear now. When we send out missionaries, we want you to see that their families are provided for in their absence, if they have not the means to do it themselves. Stand by them, and treat them kindly, and provide them with the necessaries of life that they require, that they may be comfortable and made happy to be one with us. And while our brethren are engaged laboring abroad, not able to provide for their families, let us provide for them. And we call upon the presidents of stakes, and upon the bishops, and upon the people where they reside, to see that these things are attended to, that the families of our missionary brethren are made comfortable and happy. Our brethren under these circumstances can feel contented, and can go forth with satisfaction and joy. Why, they will say, we are going forth in the name of the Lord, trusting in the God of Israel. And while we are gone, we have left our families among our friends, who will take care of them. And all is well, and all will be well. When you do that, they will bless you, and you will be blessed in time and in eternity. It is a great privilege to be able to do good. Did you ever think of it? Jesus said, "Make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations." Then let us feel after the welfare of our brethren, and we will not dwell much upon one another's weaknesses. For God knows that all of us have enough of them, at least, I feel I have, and I think my brethren feel that they have, and I do not think that many of you are very much better than we are, but I tell you what we desire to do and to see carried out. We wish correct principles to be carried out, and while we are sending the gospel to the nations afar off, we want to see the pure principles of the gospel lived up to at home. We do not want to be influenced by dire corruptions that float upon us here. While we respect proper authority and pay proper deference to all honorable men in all positions in our country, we do not want to copy after the devices of this corrupt generation. We want them to keep them to themselves, if they admire them. We neither want drunkenness, nor whoredom, nor infanticide, nor feticide, nor any of the corruptions that abound throughout the world, or of this nation, and of which every honorable man ought to and does feel ashamed. We want to train up our youth in the fear of God, and hence we have our young men's and young ladies' mutual improvement associations, which are doing a great deal of good throughout the land in teaching and being taught correct principles. It is our youth that are growing up that we shall have to look to by and by to bear off this kingdom, and we wish the fathers and mothers to set their children a good and proper example, to be patterns of purity, of honesty, truth, integrity, and uprightness, that they may be able to meet and look every man in the face with a clear conscience and open countenance, and not be obliged to dodge around the corners for fear of someone seeing them and finding them out. There are no people under the heavens that make greater pretensions than we. There are no people under the heavens that have been more favored of God than we have been. We feel inclined sometimes to murmur and complain about the nation to which we belong. It is true they have not treated us very generously or very kindly in many respects, but the Lord seems to care for us, and we do not suffer much, do we? We enjoy more liberty today than millions of the inhabitants of the world do, and I do not know of any nation under the heavens where we would be better protected than we are here. Thanks to many honorable men, and thanks to the God of Israel who has delivered us, and who has told us that he would watch over us, and take care of us, and provide for us, which he has done, and I feel grateful to him. For this, however, we are not under any obligations to our enemies, but no matter. If they can stand it, we can. When I see men violating the sacred principles of liberty and trampling underfoot the institutions of our nation, I feel to realize that they are the enemies of mankind and of the nation. I do not care what position they occupy. God will hold them to an account, as breakers of their own covenants. We will try, however, to maintain our own, and treat everybody right, and pray for all honorable men, and let the devil take care of the balance. Laughter. This is how I feel in relation to these matters. We want among ourselves to learn strictly the principles of honesty, to have and maintain honest dealing one with another, and be true to our word, and let our word be our bond. And never mind so much about litigation. I do not know that I ever sued a man in my life, and I do not think that I ever shall. I am not fond enough of law, or money either, to do it. And God will help us and protect us in our rights if we will only do right. And then we, Latter-day Saints, we elders of Israel, we sisters of Israel, we ought to be ladies and gentlemen. We ought to treat one another with courtesy and kindness and true politeness. Lord Chesterfield and others have written long treatises on politeness. I will tell you in a few words what it is to be polite. Try to make everybody as comfortable and happy as you can, in all your words and in all your acts, and then you will be polite. Study the feelings of those with whom you are associated, and those with whom you come in contact. And when a man meets an elder, why, says he, that is an honorable man. That man is anointed of the Lord. I will respect him. I expect to be associated with him in time and in eternity. And shall I degrade myself in speaking harshly or acting harshly towards him? No, but we will treat one another with kindness and courtesy. We will treat our sisters in the same way, and act the part of the gentleman towards them, and protect them in their rights and in all their privileges, and never be afraid that they are going to run away with some of our rights. When I hear people talk that way, I think they are a little in doubt of themselves. Why, we expect our sisters, our wives, to be with us not only in time but in eternity, and let us treat them accordingly, with kindness, with affection, with love, and with esteem. And then let the sisters turn round and treat their husbands and brothers and fathers in the same way. And let us all cultivate those principles that are calculated to promote one another's happiness and peace, that it may reign in our own bosoms, and dwell in our habitations, and prevail throughout the land, that the peace of God and the blessing of God may rest upon us. And while we feel a disposition to do right and keep the commandments of God, God will bless us and sustain us in all our operations, and every plot and every contrivance devised against us will fall to the ground. For God will be our deliverer and our protector. Let us train up our children in the fear of God too, and watch over their morals, and especially the morals of our daughters, and see that they do not get led astray in the paths of iniquity, but watch over them, and pray with them and for them, and pray for one another, and sustain one another, and help one another, and bless one another, and God will bless us. We are sending out persons to go and extend the borders of Zion, to make new settlements. I was very much pleased to hear some remarks made by Brother Woodruff in relation to these things, and the acts and doings of the brethren in Arizona, and of some of the new settlements south and southeast. There is a number of those settlements referred to by Brother Woodruff, the members of which we advised when they went to come as near to the United Order as they could, that is, to be united. Brother Woodruff says that in those settlements he did not see a man drunk. He did not hear a man swear. Neither did he see any person use tea or coffee. In this respect they are setting an example that it would be well for us to follow. And then, do not pursue the licentious course exhibited around us here. It is this damned infernal civilization that has introduced these infamies in our midst. Let us purge ourselves from them, and not mix up with their ungodly doings. Excuse me for the remarks, but they are true before God. They are both damned and infernal, and for those who practice them will be damned, and they are infernal, because they proceed from the infernal regions. I do not care who sustains them, whether governors, judges, priests, or whatever they may be. They are of their father, the devil, who sustains those things and maintains them. Those crimes are not original with us. They are brought here to try to corrupt and enslave and debase and pollute us. Keep yourselves pure from these corruptions, and walk worthily of the high vocation whereunto you are called. I heard the other day from one of our speakers that there were elders, high priests, and 70s who got drunk. What are the bishops doing? What are the presents of stakes doing? Why do you not bring them up and cut them off from the church? Any such elder, any such high priest, or any such 70, or any of the saints who may be found guilty of such a thing. For they are hypocrites, and want dealing with and severing from the church. Furthermore, I have heard of some bishops who have been seeking to cover up the iniquities of men. I tell them, in the name of God, they will have to bear themselves and meet that judgment. And I tell you that any man who tampers with iniquity, he will have to bear that iniquity. And if any of you want to partake of the sins of men or uphold them, you will have to bear them. Do you hear it, you bishops and presidents? God will require it at your hands. You were not placed in a position to tamper with the principles of righteousness, nor to cover up the infamies and corruptions of men. Now, do not say you did not know anything about it. I have given you fair warning, and I clear my skirts of your blood, and of their infamies will cleave to you unless you attend to it. God expects us to do right. He has given unto us the priesthood for that purpose, and he requires us to magnify it and honor it and carry it out. And it is the place of those men and the place of the teachers to see that there is no iniquity in the church, and if they do not do their duty, it then becomes the duty of the bishops to see to it. And if the bishops do not see to it, it is the place of the presidents of states to see to it. And if they do not see to it, and it comes to our ears, it will then be our duty to see to it, and also to see to them who do not magnify their calling. God will not be mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. If he sows to the flesh, he shall of the flesh reap corruption. If he sows to the Spirit, he shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. We are gathered here to serve God. We are gathered here to be taught in the ways of the Lord. We are gathered here to build up temples, and then to administer in them. And we are gathered here to send the gospel to the nations of the earth, and to fulfill those various requirements which God has placed upon us to attend to. And if we are faithful in all our duties, God will bless us. I find that the time has expired. Shall we continue the conference another day? All who desire to do so, say aye. The vast congregation responded, aye.